This is the Jocko Underground podcast, number 37. Echo Charles is sitting here with me, kind of chuckling. What's the chuckle for?
You're the man.
That's not an accurate answer, first of all. What are you chuckling at?
Because, bro, you're fired up today, and I'm feeling your energy, and it's good, man. I'm very happy. It's making me very happy.
Okay, so topic today. There's a question that I get asked. There's first of all, everybody always wants to know the one thing, right? I get asked that question a lot. Hey, if there's one thing that you could have known, and I get it. I shouldn't have done the condescending voice or the mimicking voice, because it's a legitimate question. Hey, if there's one thing that you would have known when you were in the SEAL teams, if there's one thing you knew when you started your business, so there's always those kind of questions. Mm-hmm. If there's one book you could recommend, there's those questions. Is there one piece of advice that there's all these questions, right? Mm-hmm. And I usually try and sort of gently say, well, I feel like I evolved over time and I didn't just have a eureka moment. And the eureka moments that I have had, I put them into the book so you can read, especially Leadership Strategy and Tactics. That's got some eureka moments in it, right? Sure. Learn how to detach, learn the importance of humility, right? So those are things that I remember happening. Mm-hmm. Then you get, but alongside the book one, occasionally there's one that comes up. I didn't feel like this was a Jocko podcast level question, but that's what this podcast is for. Mm-hmm. Best movie of all time. What's your favorite movie of all time? Again, to me, that's a tough question because there's so many different categories of movies. Okay, so what are your top 5 movies of all time? Well, again, now how are we rating this? So what I framed this topic for myself in a different way, and the question is, or the statement is, what movies have I watched more than 10 times? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
So that was my thought. And then a kind of a little bit of, I'm not going to go too far into it, but like why? Why is that movie particular? Right. And then also I have to make a caveat here that I literally just thought of the first 10 that came to my mind, and there's more than this. And I know I'm probably missing some of my favorites or whatever, but that's what I thought. And then I thought to organize them, as I did it, I just naturally fell into going in my past and thinking, what movies in my life have I watched more than 10 times in chronological order? So, number 1, coming out of the gate, Jaws. Yep, Jaws. We used to watch Jaws. So we had a videotape machine back in the day.
Sure, hell yeah. Betamax or VHS?
VHS. My dad started this company, or attempted to start this company, called Video Inventory Protection, VIP. Not a bad little branding move there, Pops.
I gotcha.
So in order to make this happen, the idea was he would go into your house and video things. Mm-hmm. And then if your house burned down, you go, hey, I got this videotape in my safety deposit box at the bank. Yeah. We're good. Yeah. That was his idea. Business never did anything. It was a flop, failure. But he did buy a camera, a video camera, and a video cassette recorder, which, by the way, was 2 different items. Mm-hmm. The video recorder was the size of 2 or maybe 3 shoeboxes. Mm-hmm. Maybe 4 shoeboxes. It was big. And then it had a big, thick cable that was as big around as your thumb. Mm-hmm. And the cable went to the camera, which was a big, giant camera. And the freaking pictures were awful. Yes. And grainy, and it sucked. But we did get this video cassette recorder, and you could record off the TV with it. Mm. So at some point in my life, we recorded the movie Jaws off of TV because we didn't have cable. So it was, commercials and all, right? And we just recorded. It was also rated G. So there was a bunch of parts that were missing, which I didn't find out until later in life.
Wait, what was rated G?
They had adjusted it for TV.
Oh, PG.
So there was no swears, no nudity because there's a couple nude scenes or barely nude scenes or whatever. Yeah. Some of the violence had been edited out.
Yeah.
But we had recorded the movie Jaws, and we watched it freaking all the time. The other thing too is that might have been the only movie that we had. Maybe we had. No, I don't think we had any other movies recorded. So that was it. Mm-hmm. So it's like you had one record. What are you going to play? You're going to play that one record. Yeah. So by default, we kind of ended up just going deep with Jaws. Now, it's an awesome movie. I'm from New England. It's got a bunch of hits, a bunch of, what is it? Even when I was a kid, you know, you're like, oh, this is like my people, right? You know, Quint.
Yep.
So that was number one. I remember watching Jaws. We watched Jaws countless times. Man, next up, Platoon. Like, what am I going to say? When that came out, you know, I wanted to be a commando. Out comes a movie, raw, crazy. Mm-hmm. And we ended up, at some point, I didn't get the video of that early, but eventually, once I got older and had my own video cassette recorder and stuff, and you go out and buy a video from a store.
Sure.
Platoon. And actually, I think I may have confused chronologically, but Apocalypse Now.
Mm-hmm.
That one I know I had a recording of from the TV or from somewhere. I think it was from the TV. Bad recording. You know those lines going across it sometimes? Not all the time, but sometimes.
That's the tracking line.
Yeah, the tracking lines, man. All that stuff. But Apocalypse Now may have been... Actually, I think that predated me watching Platoon over and over again, Apocalypse Now. In fact, I know it did. Should have reversed those two. So Apocalypse Now was probably the first war movie. And again, here I am, young kid wants to be a commando. And here we go. River boats, brown water Navy, commando, upstream, secret mission, CIA. I mean, this is just a dream come true. And what's funny about these movies, Platoon, Apocalypse Now, they were making these are allegedly anti-war movies.
Mm.
I've never met a friend of mine that ever thought any of those movies were anti-war. As far as we were concerned, like those are why we're joining.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear interviews with some of those people, the Hollywood people that talk about the movie that they made or the movie that they're in, and it was this anti-war thing, I was like, man, I guess I wasn't picking up on that. Because when I saw Apocalypse Now, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to rock and roll. Platoon. You watch that now, you think, oh my gosh, that's awful. When you're 14 or whatever, dude, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. I didn't put it on the list, but Deer Hunter is another one. The reason I think of that, because Deer Hunter is like a psychologically scarring movie, awful movie. I loved that movie. I thought that was a dream life. You know what I mean?
I never heard of Deer Hunter.
Oh, man. It's a freaking good movie, man. Did him out.
What was the one with Chuck Norris?
I don't know. I never got into those movies.
I think it's Delta
I never
Force.
got into those movies. The same action movies that you like right now that I don't like, I didn't like them back then.
That's weird.
Yep. I liked the raw, emotional, crazy, psycho war movies like Deer Hunter. You've never seen Deer Hunter?
I never even heard
Psychologically scarring.
No.
And when I watched it, I was like, that's what I want to do. So we got that going for us. That's I'm starting to go on a tangent here, but Taxi Driver, same thing. You ever seen Taxi Driver?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Taxi Driver didn't really make my list here, but that movie, I was intrigued by that movie because Travis Bickle he's got like a Racondo shirt or something, hat, something like this, and he was supposed to be prior military.
Right.
And I was intrigued by that. Thought, ew, that's legit. He's doing push-ups and disciplined. I was into that. I was a little kid.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
Kind of strange. Raging Bull.
Mm-hmm.
You ever seen that movie?
Wait, no. I know what movie that is, though.
Very hostile movie. I read something about that movie one time that every single frame... Is that right word? Frame. Every single frame in that entire movie, you could take it as a photograph, still image, put it on the wall, and it'd be good to go.
Huh. Yeah, I dig it.
So, Raging Bull, I liked fighting, right? For me, it's like, but it's weird. Most kids liked Rocky. I liked Raging Bull. Raging Bull is not Rocky, bro. It is not an uplifting story. It's freaking depressing.
What year is Raging Bull, do you know? I mean, about.
I want to say 80. I want to say 80.
Wasn't that a black and white movie?
Yep, it's black and white, but that's because Scorsese would get an artistic on it.
Yeah, he chose.
Yeah, it wasn't forced. Clockwork Orange, you ever seen Clockwork Orange?
Yeah.
Right up there, man. And this is where you start getting like, I had that rebellious side. I had that hardcore kid side. Well, Clockwork Orange was sort of like a movie that they issue to when you're a hardcore kid. They're like, yeah, Clockwork Orange, get your droogs out, mate. We're going to go do some ultra violence. That's what we were doing. We were carrying canes. I had a cane back in the day.
I believe
like thinking I was a droog and whatnot.
Amen.
That's where we were at.
I dig it.
A cane's a savage weapon, by the way.
Okay.
Hey, you can legitimately walk around in public carrying a stick, bro. That's a thing. You know how crazy we were? We got these little attachments for the canes that you could they would like screw onto the bottom of the cane. And they were allegedly for when it was icy out, you could put them into the down position and there'd be little spikes on the end of your cane.
Right, for the traction.
So, Clockwork Orange, droogs, canes, we're getting after it. Watch that movie countless times. Again, probably not the best movie for a kid to be watching. I was watching it. Full Metal Jacket goes without saying, right? How I didn't end up in the Marine Corps, we're not sure. Because when you see that movie and you're a kid, you want to find the Marine Corps recruiter stat. Where are you at? I'm in. Where do I sign up? Right? Which again is so weird because the dude kills himself, kills the drill instructor, war, everyone's getting killed. And when you're young, you're like, yeah, cool, that's what I want to do. So it's crazy that these people make these sort of anti-war-ish films, and yet they make a kid pro-war. They didn't get through to me.
Yep.
I guess in a way.
Yeah. So that happens all the time with a lot of movies. So because what they do is they show, it's almost like, I don't know if they do it on purpose or not, but it is part of the ride of the movie where they'll, at the end, the conclusion, they kind of reveal how terrible or how bad or how scary or how like serious certain things are. But meanwhile, the whole movie, they're giving you imagery of like some pretty awesome stuff. So you ever seen pretty much everything? This is
gangster movies too, right?
All movies. Well, not all movies, but pretty much all. Yes, gangster movies. You ever watch like Wolf of Wall Street? Boiler Room. I don't know. Even like I remember watching like White Men Can't Jump. And like all these things, they show all this awesome stuff about certain.
What was the downside of White Man Can't Jump? I forget. I thought it was just like an uplifting basketball story.
No, it was like at the end he loses his girlfriend or something like that. I don't know.
Big impact on that.
Yeah, I guess. No, but either way, yeah, maybe that's a bad example of the downside. But in the beginning, it's kind of like it makes you want to do that thing because it makes it seem so like hip and I don't know, cool and hardcore or whatever the case may be. And then, then they show at the end how, this is really some destructive stuff or whatever. And you're like, cool ending. But
fast forward that part.
You turn it off or whatever.
No, I guess you're right. I mean, there's at least part of that is right because that's definitely what happened to me. I had a movie on here because now I started thinking now I'm kind of in the military. And there was a couple movies that came to mind. And by the way, number 10. That is a little excerpt of what we are doing on the Jocko Underground podcast. So if you want to continue to listen, go to JockoUnderground.com and subscribe. And we're doing this to mitigate our reliance on external platforms so we are not subject to their control. And we're doing it so we can give you more control, more interaction, more direct connections, better communications with us, strengthen this legion of troopers that are in the game with us. So thank you. It's JockoUnderground.com. It costs $8.18 a month. And if you can't afford to support us, we can still support you. Just email assistance@JockoUnderground.com and we'll get you taken care of. Until then, we will see you mobilized underground.